Welcome back to Catrina the Cat Reads Chapter 17 of The Walking Dead Hope. I'm Catrina the Cat. Let's continue where we left off, okay? Clementine locked eyes with him, gold burning into brown. She cupped the left side of his face, tilting her own as well. Lou, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. I know you think you're a monster, but you're not. How do you know that? He exclaimed, his brows tightly knitted, and his eyes drifting down to his hands. You don't know what I was like before we found you, Clem. I was in a dark place. The moment I pulled the trigger, I felt nothing. I'm dangerous, Clem. His father's words came back to him, causing a stinging sensation in his eyes. Honey, she said sternly, bringing his attention back to her eyes. I can assure you, you're a great man. You've been an amazing boyfriend and husband to me, a perfect father figure for AJ. And you'll be an even better father to this baby, she added. She took his hand and placed it on her belly, where he could already feel the swelling bump. She's gonna look up to her dad, and she's gonna think the world of you. You called the baby a she? Exclaimed Louis, covering his mouth excitedly. Clem rolled her eyes, a smile tugging at her lips. She hesitated for a moment, but sighed. I may be coming around to the idea of a girl, all right, she conceded. Louis smiled at her through his dreads, blowing on them gently. So Ruth is back on the table? It was never even in the dining room, Clem stated deadpan. Louis raised an eyebrow at her, unable to contain a smile. He took her hands in his, kissing the back of her right one. You're amazing, you know that? He said. I know. Which is why I can't keep this from you, he said, suddenly startling her. She took her hands out of his grasp, eyeing him suspiciously. What do you mean? Louis drew a big breath, closing his eyes as he let it all out. All right, he began, nodding. You see, to get the information of your location, we had to run a small rescue mission for the hilltop. I've heard of that place, she said pensively. Jesus is one of their leaders, he informed her. And that's why. Well, Lizzie came with me on this rescue mission, he continued. At one point she got trapped by 2 walkers and I saved her. When she tripped and I caught her, she what? She kissed me. She kissed you? Clem inquired incredulously, blinking several times. Louis raised his arms, bracing for Clem's fury. I stopped her immediately, she said. She said some crap about her being more suited for me, and I told her off. I swear, baby. Clementine raised her eyebrows, the ghost of a smile on her face. If she hadn't been so angry at Lizzie, she would have laughed out loud. Instead, she placed her hand back on Louis's shoulder. Honey, I'm not going to kill you. You're not? He asked, still unsure. This time Clem didn't laugh. No, silly, she said, kissing his forehead. I know you, remember? I know you'd never cheat on me, much less tell me about it. I guess you're right, he conceded with a smile. He leaned in and placed a kiss on her lips, which she happily returned. Her hand ran through his dreads, uncovering his face. She looked at him with slanted eyes. Did you really think I was going to kill you? Well, and this I say from the bottom of my heart. You can be quite scary sometimes, honey, he informed her, receiving a playful punch on the shoulder for his troubles. The following morning, Clem, Louis, and AJ waited at the gate for Javi. The 3 of them were equipped with their backpacks and a few days' worth of supplies. They were making their first trip back to Erickson since they arrived at Richmond. AJ's special day was getting closer after all. Happy early birthday, AJ, they heard Javi said from behind them. A small package in his hand. He greeted the 2 adults first and handed AJ his present. Since I won't be seeing you on your actual birthday, here you go. Can't open it till you get to Erickson, all right? Okay, AJ said excitedly. He was turning 11 years old in a few days, and he was excited to see the others again. Thanks, Javi, Clem said, offering the older man a hug. She and Louis hadn't been able to procure anything for their little boy, and they'd already apologized profusely. He didn't mind, he said, but they still felt guilty. It was nothing, he said, waving the hand at the boy. You guys ready to go? Sure are, Louis said, draping an arm over Clementine and squeezing tightly. It'll be good seeing everyone again, right, Clem? Clem? They had lost the woman's attention a few seconds ago when Clem spotted from the corner of an eye the woman with wavy black hair and striking gray eyes. She got out of Louis' embrace, walking straight for Lizzie. The expression on her face told everyone who passed her she was on a warpath, so they swerved out of the way. When she got there, Lizzie had the gall to smile at her. Without warning, Clementine's fist came barreling into the woman's face, a loud thumping sound erupting from it. Lizzie was knocked flat on the ground, still dazed. She was holding her throbbing temple when Clementine stood over her with her hands on her hips. Lizzie could see the silhouette of Clem's baby bump against the light of the sun. Stay away from my husband, you tramp, Clem warned, her voice dangerously low. As Lizzie didn't dare get up, Clem made her way back to Louis and Javi, who had similar expressions of awe and admiration. As she passed them, she blew Louis a kiss and followed AJ out the gate. The boy looked at her with confusion, but walked on nonetheless. Louis and Javi shared a puzzled look for a moment before Louis nodded at the older man and followed his wife. He caught up to her quickly and slowed his pace to match hers. He wrapped his arm over Clem's shoulders and chuckled. I didn't expect that, he commented, looking down at her. Well, I'm full of surprises, she told him, a mischievous glint in her eye, as she eyed him from the side. And no one touches my Louis. I can't touch Louis, AJ called from ahead of them, cocking his head to the side. Clem and Louis shared a laugh, shaking their heads. Of course he can, Clem assured him, ruffling his growing afro. It's getting time for a haircut, she thought. A trio walked through the forest for 3 days, taking long breaks when nightfall came. Louis insisted on taking all guard shifts, but by the third night, he was clearly not fit for the task. Clem stepped up to him, his form swiveling in the spot due to exhaustion. I'll take it tonight, she said. He couldn't even argue as his head fell on a makeshift pillow she placed on the trunk beside him. The following morning, they arrived at the school. At last, AJ's birthday was upon them, and he could barely hold his excitement as they waited outside the Erickson. A few minutes later, the barn gate creaked open, revealing AJ's best friend, 10. Happy birthday, AJ, he exclaimed, offering his friend a short hug. He hugged Louis and Clem as well, not missing the chance to ask about the baby. The baby's doing fine. Thanks for asking, 10, Clem said, one hand on her belly. Her movement was beginning to become restricted as she grew in size. According to Eleanor, in a few months, she would not be able to travel too far. Who knew being pregnant was this much work, she thought. 10 led them through the empty courtyard, shushing AJ when he asked where everyone was. They walked into an admin building, where the rest of the Erickson inhabitants were waiting for them. Ruby and Asim were at the front, big smiles on each of their faces. The boy received hugs and presents from everyone, thanking them profusely. The music room had been turned into a small party lounge. One of the courtyard tables had been brought inside and held a few plates of deer and rabbit, with glasses of either water or some old liquor. Omar approached the boy at one point, wishing him a happy birthday. His right hand held a glass of a brown substance AJ could only assume was alcohol. Thanks, Omar, said AJ, offering a large man a hug. I'm sorry for not being able to make a cake this year, the man apologized, frowning. We ran out of flour a few weeks ago. It's okay, AJ assured him, a smile on his face. The fact that they were all there for him today was enough. I like the deer, though, he added, taking yet another helping of it from the table next to him. Thank you, AJ. Those have been scarce too lately, he commented. But you're worth it, little man. He ruffled AJ's hair, leaving him to his devices. And this is where I will stop for part 2. Stay tuned for part 3 of Catrina the Cat Reads Chapter 17 of The Walking Dead Hope.